oftentimes we'll approach someone and go, you leave the drawers open. I really want you to not do this. You leave your cups everywhere. You don't put the seat toilet down. You blah, 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 blah. And subconsciously, whenever we hear you, our emotional gun, like our fists come up. We're like, nope, I'm defending. You're attacking me. Like we hear you and we go into defensive mode right away.
Hey everybody, what's up and welcome back to another episode of It Takes Grit. Today's episode, guys, you're going to get so fired up, you're going to learn so much, and you're going to feel like tingly and on fire by the end of it. I'm so excited to be joined by Rachel and Kyle Wright. Guys, how you doing?
Oh, so glad to be here.
Super stoked.
We miss you. It's so good to see your face and be here. And yeah.
I know, it felt like just the other day that I met you in an elevator.
I know, right? I forgot that's how we actually met. That's so
or as we would say in England, a lift. I've learned how to translate.
Yeah.
So for my listeners and anybody who's new listening, can you just tell me a little bit about both of you and what you do?
Of course.
Yeah. So we are co-founders of our own company. We're married. I start with that. We're married, and we started a business together about 5 years ago. It's called Wright Wellness Center, and we help people have happier, healthier relationships by teaching scientifically proven research on what makes a relationship succeed and what makes it fail. And we teach it in an understandable format.
Yeah, we like to say that we help people scream less and screw more.
Oh, I love that. I am definitely more of a screamer right now. I'm going to put it so out there. I don't really talk about, sex and that kind of stuff with my audience. So this is going to be also uncomfortable for me, but great.
I love it.
I had a couple of bottles of wine behind me. I should have just pounded those before we started. Well, that's awesome. So first of all, how did you guys meet?
We met working in restaurants.
Yeah, I was a corporate bartending trainer, and she got hired at a restaurant that I was opening, and we kind of were connected a little bit there. I'm like, this redhead's kind of cute, but she won't stop talking, and that really annoys me.
We hated each other.
We did not like each other at all when we met. I was the stereotypical bartender. I was kind of a dick and sort of made it my way all the time. I had a very aggressive format for.
By kind of a dick, he means a lot.
I would go out of my way.
Like a real big dick.
Yeah, a giant dick.
Yeah. And then, a year after I met her, then she came on the training team too. And that was kind of it. We got to spend more time around each other. And I think I told her I loved her 3 weeks after that. And we moved in 6 months later, and that's it.
Yeah, it's been we met when I was getting my master's degree. Yeah. We moved in together when I started my licensing hours, and we've been together ever since.
Yep.
That's awesome. So for somebody starting off a brand new relationship, and I hear this, that sometimes when you're on the 3 to 5 month mark, it's like am I going to go all the way in or am I not? Because people start to change at that time. So, I actually just had a girlfriend the other day ask me, I've been dating someone, he's different now because he was more attentive at the beginning, and that's what she was looking for. But obviously you set your standards so high sometimes at the beginning, you can't maintain it. What's your advice to people who are out there dating maybe 3 to 5 months in and maybe are unsure right now if they should go down that road or break it up?
I love this question. I don't think I've ever been asked this question. I love it. So I think, first of all, at the very beginning of the relationship, or not even relationship, just dating, set the standard that you just want the person for who they are. Call it out. You're not looking for Mr. Perfect. You're not looking for this perfect version or first date version of somebody. You're looking for just them. And if you haven't done that and you're 3 months in, 4 months in, and you're wondering is this the same person? Are they gonna stay the same? Just ask. You're setting the tone for the rest of your relationship with every date. So if you can just be, I know it's scary and it's vulnerable. It's so freaking vulnerable. But if you can just acknowledge hey, I just want to say, I really like you. And I just want you to be able to be you. I want us to get to know each other for who we are, our flaws and everything. And then that way that standard is there and nobody's expecting and trying to be different than they are and hold doors when they wouldn't hold doors or order food that they wouldn't eat normally and try to scarf it down and not make a gagging face. Just giving that other person permission essentially to be themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And with my boyfriend, I feel like he's created so many more habits. We've almost been together for 3 years. And he always told me, like, you know, he never set the standard like super high, because he was like, I'm not going to set it super high because I'm not going to be able to maintain it. But like, as the years have gone on, there's more things that he's doing now that are irritating me. And honestly, I'm like, where did you pick that up? Like, why are you playing with your hair like this? Like, what are you doing? Do you feel like, as you've gone through, you've got your marriage, you've been married for 5 years, do you feel like there's still little things that irritate you about each other? And how do you communicate for someone to put the toilet seat down, even though you've asked them 3,000 times and they're still not getting it? Like, what's going on with the brain? I'm confused.
Well, what I love there is that you use the really, really stereotypical but very normal guy leaving the toilet seat up situation. I mean, I guess a woman could, if she wanted to, but that would involve her intentionally putting it up afterwards, which would be kind of a weird thing to do. The funny thing here is that I would say out of the two of us, Rachel has more weird little quirks like that. Specifically, beverage containers. Have you ever seen the movie Signs?
Yes.
By any chance? Yeah, where the little girl leaves the glasses of water all over the place and ends up being a plot device later on. Mm-hmm. That's Rachel's nightstand, and generally wherever she's been in the apartment, there's like a cup of tea there, it's half finished, there's like this over there, is that over there. And you know, every now and then I'll ask to help, put them all at least in the kitchen near the dishwasher. That way they'll get done one way or another. But I don't know, I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's not worth it getting that stressed out about. There's way more things that you can get stressed out about in life, and cups left around the apartment or the toilet seat being up is a pretty minimal thing to lose your cool over.
But I do think that, like, if it represents a lack of listening and then you feel not heard or disrespected by it, then that's a different story. And then it's communicating the feeling that's attached to it, not just complaining about the thing itself.
It's a good distinction.
Right? Because so often, like, so the cups thing, if you just came up to me and said, like, for the 18th time, stop leaving your freaking cups around the house, I would be like, you move them if they're so bothersome to you. Mm-hmm. But if you came up to me and said, hey, I've asked you a lot, I feel disrespected and hurt when you don't bring your cups to the kitchen, I'd be like, oh shit, I didn't mean to hurt you. Okay, like, I'll bring my cups in.
Right. So delivery.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And making sure that that feeling is in there and not just complaining about the action itself, because we all have different meanings of what those actions are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. So really the thing is communication. And you talked about, the number one communication tool in relationships. So it's to be listened and to be heard, and your delivery. So how do you guys communicate? Because I feel like what I do, especially with my boyfriend, is that my delivery is sometimes terrible because I'm so rallied up because the drawers are still hanging. Even we went to Hawaii and we're sharing a hotel room with me, my dad, and my boyfriend. And he wanted to unpack everything, like, whatever, I'm not going to unpack. Like, you can have all your stuff everywhere. He leaves the drawers open in the hotel room. On a daily basis, I tell him, like, all you've got to do, and I go, just look, watch me, I'm going to show you how to do it. And he's a firefighter paramedic, so he's got skills, right? He is, he has responsibility. But how can I encourage him in a nice way? Because I feel like after a while you get so rallied up. What's the best way to communicate with everything?
So let me ask you, when he leaves the drawers open, how do you feel?
I feel like he's just leaving our house messy. And it's like, I'm going to have to clear up. I'm not your mother.
Yes. Okay. So it's communicating that.
Okay.
Because what happens is we say, like, shut the drawers. And then they're like, why does Rebecca-Louise care so much about drawers? Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay, it's not about the drawers. I don't want to feel like your mom. Mm-hmm. I don't want to have to nag you. So the best thing with communication is being as kind as possible, having empathy, and when you're listening, listen to understand instead of respond.
Right, and also, I guess, give a reason why.
Yes.
Right, and the important thing about the reason why is not to say, you always leave the drawers open like an idiot, because that's going to make someone defensive. But when you say, I don't want to feel like your mother, chances are he doesn't want you to feel like his mom also. So if you make it about your takeaway from the situation and not his specific action, he won't become defensive when you bring it up, because he wants to make sure that you're well taken care of, obviously. And when he sees how you feel around something that he does in a non-aggressive way, it's going to be a lot easier to form an understanding out of that.
Right. So it's going in with a delicate approach, a reason why, and having empathy. So anybody who's listening out there, if you need to communicate something with your spouse or your partner, it's about the soft approach.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And leading with I statements.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay,
saying like,
explain that to me.
So oftentimes we'll approach someone and go, you leave the drawers open. I really want you to not do this. You leave your cups everywhere. You don't put the seat toilet down. You blah, 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 blah. And subconsciously, whenever we hear you, our emotional gun, like our fists come up. We're like, nope, I'm defending. You're attacking me. Like we hear you and we go into defensive mode right away. Mm-hmm. When we hear it's somebody talking about themselves and we don't go into defensive mode. So if you approach the situation and say, I feel whatever when you leave the drawers open, or I don't like it when you leave the drawers open because it makes me have to nag. And when I nag you, I feel like I'm your mom.
Right.
Then he actually listens, or she or whoever listens long enough to actually hear what you're saying. Instead of hearing that first their defenses go up and then they don't hear a damn thing you said after that.
That's so true. It's about them listening, because as soon as you say something to someone and they don't like it, they're not open to your suggestions, to your solutions, to anything. You're like, I'm done with you. Yeah,
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So just as much as it's their responsibility to listen well, it's also our responsibility to deliver things in a way that they can listen.
Yeah. And if you're getting rallied up, maybe take 10 breaths. Yeah, count to 10 and then go in, rather than spoil. Yeah.
And that's something that adults forget. We always think that timeouts are good for children. That's actually not true. Children do not need timeouts. Adults need timeouts, because the value of taking, like you said, 20 seconds outside, take a few deep breaths in, that will do so much more for you when you're in a tense conversation than it would for any child. It's so important for adults to take breaks when you feel that tension start to build in the conversation.
I love that too. And I think it's really important to do that, especially in a text. So what do you guys think about text arguments? Because I've done it myself, where I'm like, I'll have the last word. And I'm like, no, this. And I'm just getting more and more pissed off. And I'm just creating it. And then you're arguing about the argument, and then you bring more stuff in. So texting really is not a good idea at all when you're trying to communicate, is it?
No.
that was a straight up no.
Yeah, just no. I think we've all fallen into this before.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, guilty. Like,
it's so easy. It's like a slippery slope. You're like, where's texting? And well, it's kind of weird. And then this one is kind of weird too. And then all of a sudden you're in a full blown text fight.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Fuck you too. And then you're like, how did we get here? Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
So like what I like to do with our clients especially is have them set up a code word that they know means timeout. So one of my clients, for example, they have pineapple is their code word. So if they text each other or say pineapple, that means we need to take a timeout. Like, things have gotten too far. We need to go take our 10 breaths and calm down. And so if you have that code word, even if you're texting, you can text pineapple and your partner will know, like, oh shit, yeah, okay, we got out of control. We need to go breathe. And in person it works too. So yeah, I would avoid fighting over text.
Yeah.
If you can.
Blanket statement.
And then the code word thing really helps to like take a break.
I like that. And okay, so one thing you were talking about is people saying that, happiness, like, when did happy become just enough? Like,
oh, yeah.
What's the new happy? And I feel like, for me, I'm like, how do you know when you're truly happy in a relationship? Because you don't always want to think that the grass is always greener on the other side. And then sometimes you're like, hey, I am in a relationship that I shouldn't be in. So, I was actually married before, so I've been divorced. So for me, I definitely knew there was times where I was like, am I leaving something and there's something better out there? And all throughout a lot of relationships, I'm like, if I leave, is there something better? So I guess that's kind of two questions in one. It's like, what is this whole like happy enough? And is the grass always greener on the other side?
I'll answer the second one first, and then you can probably take the happy enough piece.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I think that the grass is always greener thing is something that we do in all areas of our life for everything. Like if you're not a mom, but you want to be a mom, you're like, oh, that baby's so cute. It's like so, and then you're the mom with the poopy diaper and you're like, oh, what I would give to not have this child with me right now, like as much as you love your child. So I think that the grass is always greener thing is definitely something that is normal to a certain extent. But when you're in a really happy relationship, you're not really thinking about that. You're not thinking about, wow, what would it be like to be in a relationship with so-and-so? Mm-hmm. It's definitely more of like maybe sexual thoughts may come up about other people. Like, wow, that guy's pretty hot. Right? Like, cause we're married. We're not,
yeah.
Like we're married. We're not dead. Mm-hmm. So we can still see people and be like, wow, that would be a great person to take home this evening, and then not act on it. But I don't think that there's like a grass is always greener with relationships if you're truly happy.
So you're never, if you're thinking right now, if our audience are thinking right now, oh, I would like to try and see what it's like dating this person, or if I like to see what it's like sleeping with this person, or just going on a date with this person, you think that they're probably not 100% satisfied within their own relationship?
Yes, except for the sleeping with.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, it kind of transitions into happy enough. I think that, well, people get caught up being, I don't know, bored in their relationship. They stop getting creative. I think that the issue is, I hate to lay the blame solely at technology's feet, but it kind of 90% of the issue is a technology, in my opinion, because push notifications, our world has gotten so large and so small all at once. We have something in our pocket now that vibrates whenever one of 200 apps you have on your phone goes off. So our distractions are getting worse and worse and worse, and more needy too. Like now you can't call out sick from work very easily. You got to hide on social media. There's so much more attention that goes to our phones, to our computers, outside of our relationship. And so people stop focusing on their relationship that much, and they kind of give it, when you've been in a relationship for a while and you get caught in the happy enough problem, it's because you haven't been creative in your relationship for a while, or you haven't really focused on making that relationship as good as possible. It's so easy to fall down the slippery slope of being distracted all the time and taking your relationship for granted, because then you expect that person to be there. You expect the dinner dates, you expect sex, you expect the morning coffee snuggles, you expect these things. But if you're not taking the time to make sure they happen and make them really intentional and make them special every now and then, your relationship is going to start falling into a place where someone asks you if you're happy and you say, yeah, I'm happy enough in it. But you're not really thinking about what you could do to make it truly special.
Yeah, that's so true. And so obviously when you first meet somebody, there's a big spark. There is a spark. How do you maintain that spark? And what happens if that spark goes? What do you do?
So the spark will go. Scientifically, like the chemicals that are released in our brain when we are first with somebody are not the same chemicals that keep us happy in a long-term relationship. And this is one of the things that I really wish we taught. Just like how I wish we taught communication techniques and we taught way better sex ed, I wish that we taught this in school, because we all have this expectation of like, how can I make the honeymoon phase last forever? And the honeymoon phase, if we allowed that to last forever, we actually wouldn't be committed to that person. We would be way more likely to cheat. We wouldn't feel as happy and secure. The feeling of safety wouldn't be there. So instead of trying to like elongate the little first spark period, it's like grow with your relationship and enjoy the things that come after that too. Enjoy the bond and the safety and security. And you can keep your sex life fun. You can keep that sexy and new and fresh. And I mean, there's so many things that you can try to do that. But when it comes to like that giddy kind of like, oh my God, he texted me, that feeling, like it is going to go away. And part of, I think, the magic of being with someone for a long time is realizing that the lack of that feeling isn't a bad thing. It actually means that you're really happy with somebody for a long time. And so instead of viewing it as something that went away, it's like, look at what we have now.
It's like we gained something. That phase
Yes.
is gone because we're on to the next chapter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's so important. And so, you know, when you're talking to, you work with couples all the time, what happens when someone is growing, personal development and all those things a lot more than the other? So when I first met my boyfriend, I was earning more money than him, but he didn't know. And he asked me if I would have a prenup within the first like 2 weeks. I was like, dude, like you shouldn't even be asking that. And so I was like, okay, like, would I like have a prenup? I'm like, honestly, you probably shouldn't ask that because, you know, you don't want a prenup with me. But it's interesting because I have my own business and it took him, goodness, it took him 1.5 years, 2 years to join me in the network marketing company that I'm in. And so he watched me for 2 years having impact, making extra money. And it took him a long time. He hadn't done personal development before, like the same level as I have. And I knew because I had the boyfriend I had before, the guy that I was married to, he never was going to join the network marketing company. He never wanted to do personal development. And that's why we separated. And I knew that with this relationship, if you weren't able to like match my same mindset, my vision, like, no, I'm not content with where I'm at right now. And this is the type of house that I want for our family. So how do you work with people to, you know, to bring them up so that they're at the same level? Because once you're not at the same path, like I feel like you're done because you've got nothing, you're not relatable to each other.
Well, you know, takes a lot of the first 3 to 5 months. That's a really important time to make sure that you're on the same page, to make sure the person that you're with is willing to grow. And now if they don't want to grow, that's fine for them, but that clearly isn't going to work for the relationship. So it's really, and if there's a stubborn partner, it's a great way to approach them with an offer like, hey, it seems like you like doing X, Y, and Z. Is there a chance you want to do those 3 things on a bigger, larger scale? Maybe like going out to eat. Instead of going to the same taco truck every week, do you want to go drop $3,000 on a dinner for 2? Does that sound good to you? Okay, well then let's make more money to do that. Let's grow our lives a little bit. It's an offering in the relationship and not a, hey, I'm going to do this. Like, you better grow too. That's more of a threat. But if you're like, hey, I see an opportunity to take what we have now and what we like doing, and instead of working out at Planet Fitness, you're working out at Equinox. There's a way of getting there, but it's all about offering to your partner instead of being, you know, kind of letting them drag along, so to speak.
Yeah, I think also too, you know, a lot of people are afraid their partner starts doing personal development work. Like, let's say, so the first 3 to 5 months, neither of you are in it. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, you're together for 5 years and then somebody starts discovering whatever it is. At that point, the other partner is most likely really terrified that the other partner is going to leave. So I love your invitation of like, how can we grow together and meeting them where they are. But at some point, if your partner is that stubborn and is saying like, no, I like our life the way it is. I like our tiny apartment. I like going to Planet Fitness. I like eating at McDonald's. Like, maybe it's not the best fit anymore. And that's okay.
Oh yeah.
Like, we grow out of people. We're not friends with the same people for our whole lives. And it can be the same thing with partners. Ideally, it's not, but we've been fed this whole story that like, we're with one person and we grow together forever. And as ideal as that is, it isn't the reality for everybody. And that's okay.
Yeah. And especially if you got, for me, you know, I got married, I think it was like 24, 25. And then, you know, about 2 years after we met, I found a network marketing company. I had a mentor. I started getting exposed to personal development. And I was just like, as soon as someone was going to pick me up, I was going to do the work and do it. And I stuck to my nutrition plan like glue. And I would be in Equinox doing a workout class. And he was supposed to be working out too. And I would come out of the class to check where he was. And he'd be down in the bar. Because like the one in Irvine, like had a bar and was all nice. And I just knew. And after a while, I just like, I was coming home later. I was like not showing up for our relationship. I wanted to be more with other people than I was with him. And it just came to a point where like, you know, we weren't sleeping together. You know, we've been married for like 6 months. And I was like, what is even the point of this? And our friends group completely changed as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you don't feel like you're the best version of yourself and
Yeah.
you want to keep growing around that person, then something needs to shift. And
Yeah.
it may not be a new partner, it may be going in and doing some work on the relationship, but something has to change.
Yeah.
Totally. And it's better to break away than to try and look for the grass is always greener on the other side first.
Yes, 100%.
So what's your thoughts on getting back with someone after they've cheated on you or they have been unfaithful?
So I do not believe that once, like the phrase once a cheater, always a cheater.
Mhm.
That is not true. Now, is it true for some people? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Like, of course, something is true for all people, like some people, but it's not true for everybody. And affairs and infidelity, they do not happen in a vacuum.
Yeah.
It doesn't just happen out of nowhere. And the person was like, you know what? I'm going to cheat on my partner today. And then they like go out and find someone and they're like, do you want to have sex? Cool, let's go. Like, yes,
Yeah.
It's something that develops over a lack of time. Something is not right in the relationship when it happens. And so it's really up to you of if you value the relationship enough to figure out what that was and heal through and forgive your partner, or you can just kind of stay in denial and think it was just them and walk away. Because even if you decide to leave the relationship, it's still really helpful to figure out what happened.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to bring our same shitty patterns into our next relationship. And then we have that whole thing of like, why do all my partners cheat on me?
Mm-hmm.
If all your partners cheat on you, it may not necessarily be always them.
Right. And
You know?
and it could be who you're picking. Like you could
Right.
be picking the same type of person.
Right.
But still, that's something to look at in ourselves. I think so often it's easy to point fingers and just be like, oh, well, they're all just cheaters.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, hey, that may be the case, but let's for a minute take a peek at what we're doing to contribute to it.
Right. So it's taking the responsibility almost of why your partner did cheat.
Yeah. And it's not that it's your fault.
No, but just to figure it out.
Yeah. Like what role did you play?
Mm-hmm. And I guess it depends on each level of cheating, on how much, whether you're going to bring them back into your life or whether you're going to depart.
Right. Like, was it a 6-month affair of lies and deceit? Or like, did he make out with somebody at a bar?
Right. Did he get super drunk and make out with somebody at like a bar somewhere? Or does this person have like a second family that you are not completely aware of? Or like, did they disappear and you found them in Vegas in like a hotel room full of like hookers and cocaine? There's a whole level of variance there around cheating. And it's all about what the relationship is like and whether or not both partners want to reconcile and work on their relationship.